So let's go to recording first, because that's where we are. You can see, if you look over here, there's eight channels of mic line hooked up into the TL, which is up here, and that's routed to the recording studio, which is downstairs here. And I use the mic pre's, and then I use the EQ that's on board on the console. I don't use the inserts in this point because I go then direct out, which you can see these connectors up here, and the direct out hooks down to the patch bay, and all my outboard gear is hooked up to the patch bay. So in this instance, I don't really need the inserts because I'll just use EQ first and then compression or something. That's just the way it works. I could change it around by using the inserts, but it's not necessary. And then I go out of either directly out of the console or through any other outboard gear directly into my digital audio workstation, actually directly into the converters. And then, so I use it direct. This doesn't use the mixing part of the console very much, or at all, really. It just uses the mic pre's and the EQs. It uses the individual channels, pretty much. And then the other way when I'm mixing would be there'd be no mic pre's hooked up. There would be line in and line outs hooked up. So the line in would be hooked up from the analog outputs of my digital audio workstation. I've got, when I mix, I have 16 outs, so 8 of them I've dedicated to this. And then I'd go probably direct out back into the converter, and in between I'd hook up the outboard gear through the insert points. Okay, so this is these are the 8 inputs. These are actually what the drums were recorded through. So these lines go down to the studio where the drummer would be, and lines come up through here. I use the EQ and the preamps and the EQ out through the direct outs, which are here, wired right into the patch bay, which goes right to the converters, which goes right to the digital audio workstation of your choice. And this is a real hybrid situation that we have here. So I have a digital console with an analog console hooked up beside it, and I use this for inputs. You can see that's full of EQ and stuff. I use everything there, and then I just record out. I like this because I have full recall of the mixes available, and I can make it sound like a record early in the game, and that makes for better performance. Everybody's happy, more fun for me to listen to, and away we go. I do use the mixing output on occasion if I want to drive something hot. So I want a little bit too. The nice thing about the TL, there's an indication of the amount of distortion. There's a little yellow light that says this is still cool. There's a red light that says you better mean it. And but to get that kind of gain, you have to either send it something very hot, or you have to bring up the preamp gain, because the preamp works both for the line level and for the mic level. There's a switch that changes the inputs and the gain, and but you may find that the direct out from the same channel, once you're driving the input that hot in order to generate distortion, might be too hot for your converters. It might give you digital distortion, which is probably not what you're looking for. Probably you might be. So then I go out one of the bus outs of the console. This one really has a left-right bus out and 2 aux end bus outs, and I'll take the return from, let's say, the left output, pan the signal to the left, and then bring down the fader level so that my output is at a respectable level, but the input is being distorted. That's where the distortion is generated. On the individual channel, the distortion is generated at the input. On the 2 mix, the distortion is generated on the output. So depending on if you want single version of distortion or double distortion or how you do it, that's the way to do it. So it gives me some flexibility to overdrive, which is kind of good. I mean, once you have tubes, you may as well push them and see what happens. Right. What I've noticed, and maybe I was a little surprised by this, I didn't quite expect it, is that I've been really digging recording drums through the TL. That we miss a bit of what the console does when recording. There are great plugins now. There are great emulations and stuff like that. It's pretty good, but none of them work when you're recording. That's the problem. And because I come from an era where you only own so much good equipment, so you learn to use everything at least twice. Once when you recorded, and once when you went to mix. So if you had a great EQ you want to use on kick and snare on the way down, you'd use that same EQ on vocals when you went to mix, and which forced you to make your decisions early. And the real, which is give and take. Maybe it works out if you know what you want. If you're not sure what you want, it doesn't work out so well. But the The real beauty of it is it forces your monitor mix, or the mix that the musicians are listening to as they play, to sound like a record, to sound great. And that makes for better playing and happier people and more inspired performances. So I do as much processing as I can when I record. And there is no way to do that without actual equipment. And either a console is still the best way to record. Look, I'm a digital guy now. I use tons of digital equipment. But there is nothing that beats a console for recording. And that's my solution at the moment.